According to a brand new report, Marvel Studios has locked in five legacy actors that will be a part of the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars. So let's talk about each one individually and maybe how they fit into the bigger picture. Without knowing much about Secret Wars, we can all agree upon one thing. This is going to be the biggest ensemble film of all time. It's going to make Avengers Endgame and the amount of characters in that portal scene look like a complete joke when we get to Secret Wars. So, with recent reports from insiders that multiple legacy actors have already agreed to appear, we are going to go over the 5 actors that have allegedly signed on and possibly even what roles they're going to have in the upcoming film. So let's start with the first one, which happens to be Hugh Jackman. Now, this is not surprising at all. Hugh Jackman, after years away, came back to play Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine. His story, obviously, in that film is not done, neither is that entire universe. He more or less gets a fresh, brand new start in a brand new universe. I'm, of course, talking about that version of Logan. And now he's got to find his way. When the TVA comes calling for help, and they need help, he is going to feel like he owes them one for saving his life and allowing him to live in another universe. Thus, Hugh Jackman returning honestly makes sense. It's the one that works out the best, I would say. The story is all there. Hugh Jackman clearly seems keen on playing Wolverine up until he literally can't anymore, so they're going to do it. This one is not that surprising. Next up is Wesley Snipes' Blade, who is said to be returning once again, just like Hugh Jackman in Secret Wars, and that it will be the same exact version that we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine. This one, again, is a no-brainer in my opinion. He's clearly worked out and battled whatever demons he had in his personal life. He's settled a lot of the problems he's had with other actors and producers. Wesley Snipes seems to be interested in doing this. He honestly seems like he was a great person to get along with on the set of Deadpool and Wolverine from what we've heard and everybody talking about it, including Wesley Snipes. And his Blade just makes sense. Everybody's talked about it. Without Blade, Marvel isn't where they are today, and you owe that in part to Wesley Snipes playing that character. So this is another one of those, this is a no-brainer. Next up is Chris Evans as Captain America. This one also makes sense. Evans said he was done with Marvel and moving on from comic book roles. And then just a handful of years after, here he is in Deadpool and Wolverine playing the Human Torch. Human Torch was of course killed off, but Captain America is still alive and well. Chris Evans seems to have gone back on what he's been saying, and recently he's been saying, well, you never know. If the story's good enough, I'm willing to reconsider it and talk about it. He's 100% going to do it. And I 100% am in the camp that believes that he's already agreed to the contract when he agreed to do Deadpool and Wolverine, and that he will be back. His story also makes sense. If you really think about it, you can bring back Old Man Steve, or what they could do and play around with it is take Steve from when he's doing his journey to put back the stones, and then you catch him right before he goes and lives with Peggy, and you go, hey, Steve, before you do that, we need you for another mission. Secret Wars. We'll catch you up on it. Here's your exposition dump for the movie. And again, if you look at all the Avengers films, they're always through the eyes of Captain America. So this to me is another one that makes sense. I think Chris Evans 100% will be back. Next up is Toby Maguire as the Raimi version of Spider-Man. Now, there's a lot of chatter in regards to where he's going to appear. People are saying Spider-Man 4, people are saying Avengers Doomsday, some are saying an actual Spider-Man 4 from Sam Raimi and Sony, others are saying it's just going to be Secret Wars. Whatever the case is, if they're bringing back all the characters that they can, that they have at their disposal, and Sony agrees on it, Secret Wars is a perfect place for his character. Now, of course, if Secret Wars ends with the restoration of one timeline, then that means you can't get more Spider-Man films. Like, I think Marvel would put that in their contract, right? Because it's like, unless we produce them and we keep the multiverse alive, sure, but the sacred timeline concept doesn't allow for that. So again, we still don't know. Rumors are all over the place, but Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man makes sense, especially if they're going to bring back some of his villains. or something like that, that would honestly all make sense in terms of his return and sort of being a legacy leader, if you will. And I think his place in Secret Wars could be really interesting, especially if you got the rest of the older cast to bounce around with. Like, imagine scenes of him and Wesley Snipes and Hugh Jackman and a bunch of the older legacy actors all just sharing screen time. Like, there's something special about that. So I can definitely see this. And the last up is Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider. Now, of course, we know that an ongoing conversation did happen about bringing him back multiple times to the MCU. One for Marvel TV with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then they pivoted to Robbie Reyes, and of course, Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze did appear, just briefly, but then also they had a discussion for Deadpool and Wolverine, and it didn't work out. And I honestly think that this is on point. I think he will return here and again join the ranks of the legacy heroes, because it's going to be a final send-off, and there is legit people who do love those Ghost Rider films. I know quite a few people that enjoy the first one. I find it quite entertaining. I absolutely love the insanity that is the second film, and I know I'm in the minority with that one, but I think it's legitimately like great schlock. So bringing him back makes sense. His story could also work out and work right into it, as if they were to establish that maybe his film, since it was a Sony film, is in the Spider-Man continuity, you could play around with the idea that they've met each other, or if he's just a unique Ghost Rider from only his universe where only he exists, you can also play with that, because then he's a survivor of this universe and he's fighting for, well, the sole survival of his universe. It's a cool concept, so I think that it's great, and if they do it like this, I think it will work out. Now, this is a bonus one, and I'm tossing it in here, but apparently Scarlet Johansson will be back as well. Now, I don't consider her a legacy Marvel actor, as she's only been in the MCU playing a main character, and the rest of these characters we just talked about were all played by actors that have a legacy. You know, even Chris Evans as Human Torch. But if it's true she's returning, I mean, Black Widow, obviously that's who she's going to play, but maybe they have some fun with it and she plays a alternative version of a character in another universe. And that could be interesting as well. Whatever they decide to do, I'm hyped for it. It's Secret Wars. It's gonna be huge, right? And if they bring back Black Widow, you could also do a parallel universe where, in her universe, Clint died, and she survived. What happened to her after? How did that play out? It's a small little deviation of what we know, but it paints the events in a different light. And I think that's how they handle that. So there we go. 5 legacy characters and Black Widow that are all apparently returning in Avengers Secret Wars.